Ben Chilwell, remember him? Has been included in Chelsea's 25-man Premier League squads. Are you surprised, or is it just about homegrown talents and English players in your squads?
I'm not surprised. No, it's about freaking common sense, right? I mean, they have enough association-trained players anyway in their squad if they want to put them in. You can go and play the bully boy. Like, you're not going to play, you're not in my plans. But ultimately, I mean, you'd have to be a complete moron, which Chelsea are not, despite what some people think, to go and say, no, Chile, no, we don't want you, right? You got a slot for him, you put him in there. Maybe you'll need him at some point. Maybe Cucurella and Colwell, everybody else who can play left back gets hurt. Maybe he trains so hard that Maresca says, you know what, I can make it work with you. Maybe you shop window him. So to me, it's just common sense. It would have been mad otherwise, since they have the slot for him. Newcastle come from behind to be Wolves 2-1, and they're joint second in the table. Hey, all this hype for Arteta. What about some love for Eddie Howe?
Exactly.
He had a few things to get off his chest following that Paul Mitchell interview, where, if you remember, Paul Mitchell came in. He's a sporting director. He said their previous windows were not fit for purpose.
And Eddie was not happy, as you would expect. Try to defend his player, especially because even if you're a player and you hear your new sporting director saying, well, we signed you, but really that was a mistake, it's not nice to hear, I think. So Eddie coming out saying that he was very proud of all the players that they signed in previous transfer windows, blah, blah, blah. I think for me, the most striking in what Eddie Howe had to say, Gab, was the fact that he said that he hadn't spoken to Paul Mitchell since the interview, which was 9 days ago. So I suspect that Paul Mitchell is a lot at the training ground where Eddie Howe is, which means that they must be not far from each other every day and they don't speak.
So you're absolutely right. This is really the appalling part. Look, the other thing is obviously Eddie Howe is going to defend his signings because he had a big say in them. And that's fine. When he says, it's very easy after the fact to criticize. Guess what, Eddie? This is real life. And Eddie knows this, right? After the fact, you look at the results and they make right decisions, bad decisions. This is called accountability. And Eddie Howe understands this. I think it's fun to hear Paul Mitchell say that and speak openly. I think he probably did cross a line, unless he said, hey, Eddie, I'm going to say this, and we'll throw Dan Ashworth under the bus, and just so you know, this is how I feel about it. Are you okay with it? Whatever. This would have been the context, right, if he had told him this. If this came as a surprise to Eddie Howe, that's not cool. But the fact that they haven't spoken in 9 days since then...
that is weird. When we say how strong the relationship between a sporting director and coach should be, we said it all the time. So this is not looking good at all.
The chief executive of Newcastle, if I'm not mistaken, is that guy Darren Eales, who was in the US. Everybody says so smart. I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't tried this already. I expect you take the two of them, you grab them by the ear, you pull them along like little children, you put them in a room, and you say, okay, you guys have to work together. You will talk. You had an international break. Eddie, doesn't mean you go off golfing. Paul, it doesn't mean you go and you nerd out with your videos.
Yeah.
You sit together. And we draw a line under this incident, and you work together if there is a problem there. And we quash this immediately. Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I hope he knew that they were going to come out and say these things, Darren Eales. Otherwise, he's thinking like, what am I, dealing with children here?
UEFA have warned the Italian FA that they need at least 5 stadiums that comply with requirements for Italy to be able to co-host Euro 2032 with Turkey. And right now, they only have 1.
Yes, and that stadium is the Juventus stadium. This is the age-old issue. There's a level of bureaucracy in many cities. In other cities like Rome, whenever you dig a hole, you find some sort of Etruscan artifact or Roman artifact, and then everything gets shut down. They know this. Again, it's another one of those situations where they welcome the letter from UEFA. In fact, it was Michele Uva, one of the Italian guys at UEFA, who sent the letter, because now they can go to the government and say, hey, government, hello, can you help us out here? Can you just get rid of all this red tape? We'll pay for the stadium. We want to build a stadium. Fiorentina has actually sued their local government in Florence because they want to build a stadium. But they need to get around all this red, what they consider to be all this red tape. So I'm not overly concerned. They don't need to rebuild the stadiums. Well. It's 8 years away. And look, worst comes to worst, we'll just all go to Turkey. And they can host a whole tournament. Great food, great weather, lovely people. I got no issue with that.
No, me neither.
Great barbers. Leipzig follow up their victory over Bayer Leverkusen with a scoreless draw at home against Union Berlin, which I guess makes producer Freddie happy.
He was happy.
Are Leipzig legit contenders, or still the Marco Rose roller coaster?
Yeah, I think it's still the roller coaster, Gab. You're right. Luis Openda, who we praised, and rightly so, after the Bayer Leverkusen game and his performance, the goals that he scored, missed a penalty. It's not the first time. And overall, they had chances. They should have won this game. Yeah, probably against a team that defended for their lives. But you are contenders if you win those kind of games where you don't play great, maybe, but you still have enough to go and win. And in the end, it's 2 points drop. I know it's only early in the season, so it's not all too much of a disaster. But I just expected them to win. And the way they played, they should have won the game. But again, a bit like what we saw a lot last season too. They just don't win those games. They just don't find that extra efficiency or something special from someone to go and win it, even when they deserve it.
On paper, Openda, Sesko, Xavi Simons, if you were buying futures, right, and put some money down about like 3 years from now, which trio is going to be the best, you would probably put them in the top 10, if not top 5 in Europe.
You're right.
And they're already productive now.
Yeah.
So I think this is an indictment on Marco Rose.
Yeah, I agree. And this is nothing new again. We've said that many times before. Mauricio Pochettino will be earning around $6 million a year as coach of the USMNT national team. But Gab, some hedge fund billionaire will be paying a big chunk of that.
Yeah, it's a guy named Ken Griffin who his fund is called Citadel. He's decided to kick in money. It's a tax deductible donation.
Okay, so
where
he's interested in it, yeah.
I think it helps in that sense. We've seen sponsors pay for coaches' salaries. This is a little bit odd, right? So he's donated to football causes before. He's built pitches and stuff. I mean, again, the guy's a multi-billionaire. He's donated to a bunch of different things. I like $6 million, or it's actually really a portion of $6 million. It's probably a drop of the bucket to him, right? Equally, I wonder, and presumably it's his own money. It's not Citadel's, right? It's not Citadel's investors. But still, when you do this, you normally do it because you get some benefit. And maybe he's the biggest Pochettino fan in the world.
Yeah.
In which case, he could just give the money to Pochettino, I guess.
He wants to help the USMNT national team.
I think people will ask questions about potential conflicts of interest. So you want to make sure that this is all legally very, very clear. When a sponsor does it, obviously the US does well. So like maybe he does it with him. Maybe he's bought a bunch of football assets in the US and he figures, okay, if we get Pochettino, I can help with that. The US national team does well. So value of my assets increase. It's certainly an unusual one, put it that way. Viktor Gyökeres has scored in his last 7 games this season, including internationals. He has 8 goals in 5 games after Sporting's 3-0 victory Aruca. He's still not the best big Scandinavian center forward out there. There's another dude.
Yeah.
But are you surprised he's still at Sport? Are you surprised over the summer?
Yeah, a little bit. I think his release clause is really high, something like 80 million euros. So
you don't need to pay the release clause.
No. But
Osimhen's was 120 million.
True, but sometimes you have to pay it. Sometimes you can negotiate lower. Sometimes you can't. Maybe that's why. Maybe people want to wait a little bit more and see him more in the Champions League, like we will see this season. They start against Lille, for example, this week. Maybe that's why. But I just think he's that good on the back of a very good season last year too, to have started in this form, incredible, and his goals and assists is his all-round game. That he's not just a finisher, like a Haaland is, for example. It's everything that he does. He's so strong. He's so good. If I would bet, I'd bet that this is his last season, maybe the last 6 months, and then January could even be a move for him.
So obviously, we've seen this summer, by the way, trend-wise, big, prolific center forwards struggling to get much love, whether you can put Ivan Toney in that bucket as well. There is a whole tradition in Portugal of often foreign, big, strong, target men, center forward types just absolutely dominating the league. This goes all the way back to Mario Jardel, right?
Of course.
And I think maybe there's some skepticism about that.
Yeah.
Could that work in a different league? But you're right. The Champions League this year, I think, will be good bellwether for him.
To see him there. Giorgio Chiellini is back at Juventus, Gab. Does that make sense? Are you happy?
Yeah, exactly what we said. It depends what job
Yep.
you give him, right? But he spent time in the States. He's improved his English. He's very visible among the ex-players that Juve have. Of the three that they mentioned, right? Del Piero, I think, was ever only going to consider like a serious job with serious responsibility. Claudio Marchisio, who I think they could do more with for whatever reason. Maybe he'll be involved in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Chiellini, he's going to be in charge of their football institutional relations, which means he'll kind of be the Emilio Butragueño of Juventus. He's going to go to the meetings, or the Pupi Zanetti of Inter.
Yeah.
He's going to represent the club in those contexts. He's going to report back to the top. If he enjoys that, that's fine. Some people love that job, just talking to a lot of people and traveling.
Yeah.
Others want sort of substantial influence. We'll see if he gets bored with it. We'll see if he's maybe grooming himself for a bigger role. I don't know. It's a new experience for him. We were wondering about the future of Datro Fofana, Jules. It was keeping me up at night because he wasn't on the Chelsea website.
I know, you were really stressed about that.
But now I find out he's joining Goztepe in Turkey on loan. Another wage off the books for Chelsea?
Yeah, I guess so. Not that he was making a lot of money, but yeah, I think that's good. And I don't think he had a number. I don't think he had a locker in the dressing room.
Pass.
He was not even on the Chelsea website, as you reminded us on Thursday. So good. I hope he plays. You just want people to play and enjoy their football and everything. So I hope he plays, goes to Turkey. It has worked for people to get good form in Turkey and then come back to a better league, for example. So let's see. And for Chelsea, it's one problem, I guess, less to sort out with the big squad that they have already. And staying in Turkey, Gab, Viktor Osimhen made his debut for Galatasaray in their 5-0 win over Rizespor at the weekend. How did it go for him?
He didn't score.
No.
But he was phenomenal.
The
fans loved him. He provided assists. He worked hard. And you know what this tells me, Jules?
Tell me.
The best is yet to come. Get excited. The guy hasn't played club football in forever. Comes back in. He's hungry. He's got his mask ready if needed. It's good times. Good times for Victor O.